What is good, YouTube? It's your boy OG back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be going over a team which I got from this infographic here from Stadium Gaming, which consists of Metachan, Scorching Sand, and Hyper Beam Diggersby, and a Lowland Sandslash. And they do recommend the Shadow version, but I only have the regular version, but I will be going over in this video whether or not it's necessary to have the Shadow version. So likely going to be going over more of these teams on this infographic, as my channel is dedicated to meta teams and helping you climb. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for future videos. And without further ado, let's get into these matches here. So first match, we have the Metachan into Golbat. So this is a pretty rough lead for the Metachan, as you are taking super effective damage from the wing attacks, and they're going to be debuffing my defense here with the Poison Fang. And that actually does a pretty solid chunk too, but I'm going to throw the Ice Punch here and then swap into my Diggersby. And Diggersby, knowing Hyper Beam, really can flip switch in a lot of scenarios if they decide not to shield. So opponent gonna debuff me with a Poison Fang and then bring in their Greninja, but Greninja is super squishy and Hyper Beam is a pretty hard hitting move, so we end up one-shotting the Greninja there. And then they bring in the Quagsire, and we're in a pretty solid position just because they do need 2 moves to take us out, and we will be able to reach a Hyper Beam before then, and opponent most likely going to let this go just because they are already down a shield. And that puts us in a very comfortable position here, as all we have to do is align our Metachan to this Quagsire and align our Sandslash to the Golbat here. So gonna throw the first Ice Punch here, and opponent most likely gonna shield and then throw a move back at me, but it doesn't really matter what this is. I'm going to shield it regardless, as we do have 2 shields, so they can't reach 2 threatening moves before we're able to take them out anyways. And then all we have to do now is take out the Quagsire in the back, and we should be able to reach this Ice Punch here, and we do reach it on CMP, and we're able to take this match here. So able to come back from a pretty rough lead with a nice boom in the middle matchup there. So next match, we have a Bastiodon Lead, and if you hate Bastiodon, this team is the team for you, as all 3 of these Pokemon really do have a pretty good matchup against the Bastiodon there. And they're going to swap in the Shadow Victory Bell, and this is a pretty good matchup for the Sandslash, as of course we are resisting the Razor Leaves, and the Ice Punch is very threatening to the Victory Bell, but they do throw an Acid Spray at me, which I shield. And as you can see here, if it was the Shadow version of the Sandslash, maybe we would have been taken out by the Razor Leaves there. So even if we were, though, both our Metachan and our Diggersby do have a very good matchup against the Bastiodon, and we would have been up a shield. So the only thing that could have made this really a little bit awkward is maybe if they had a Metachan in the back instead of the Tropius. And if somehow they did win switch in the event we did have a Shadow, and then our Diggersby was aligned to the Metachan, could be a little bit more awkward, but I think we still would take matches in that situation, just because you can reach a Hyper Beam on the Diggersby, which chips the Metachan pretty low, as you're going to see later in this video, and then your Metachan can just finish off the game. So at this point, I accidentally hit the Psychic, and pretty unnecessary, as we do have to finish this match with the Diggersby. And one Scorching Sand, I can't even speak, Scorching Sands should be able to KO the Bastiodon from this range, and that is a GG. So next match here against one of my favorite content creators, Chillis FM, who I featured his teams on this channel before, and pretty rough lead in the Galvanicopod, as it does do well against all 3 of our Pokemon. So I'm going to bring in the Diggersby and tank a Liquidation here, and they bring in their own Diggersby. I'm going to go for the Scorching Sands, which kind of is a mistake in some sense, just because I was fishing for the debuff, but then here I try to commit to the Hyper Beam, and I lose CMP to the opposing Diggersby, and I get taken out by a Hyper Beam. So now I'm going to bring the Metachan back in and hope that a Ice Punch right here will be able to KO the Diggersby, but unfortunately they live with a sliver of HP, so I'm going to have to tank this Scorching Sands here. And now they're going to bring the Galvanicopod back in, so I'm going to have to bring my Slant Slash in, and all our moves are resisted. So not a great matchup for our Sand Slash to say the least, but at least the Shadow Claws are doing neutral damage, and thankfully we also call an Aerial Ace bait, which really helps out in this matchup here. So I'm gonna get to the next Ice Punch, and we do CMP on it, but it doesn't really matter too much just because this Ice Punch won't KO, so I'm gonna have to Shadow Claw down anyways. And they do end up shielding, and because I know that I lose CMP, I'm just going to shield this move and farm them all the way down without CMPing them. So here's where I make a pretty big mistake. I do throw the Drill Run here, and I immediately swap out into the Metachan, and I should have just made it to the second Drill Run and then swapped out into the Metachan, because as you're going to see here, they do need to get to a Breaking Swipe and a bunch of Dragon Tails to take out my Metachan. But if I'd gotten that damage off earlier, maybe I would have been in a better position and I could have taken out the Steelix here, because as you can see, they are pretty low, but now they're going to outpace me to the move and take out my Sand Slash. So very well played by Chillis and good games. So next match here, we have Metachan into Lantern, and this team, I'm anticipating that it's just a classic Lantern, Metachan, and Noctowl team that I featured about a bajillion times on my channel, but this matchup is pretty interesting now just because you do reach the Psychic the same time as they reach the Thunderbolt now. So I'm going to shield up the Thunderbolt, and I'm going to just keep playing out this matchup. I should eventually get out of here, but I'm going to tank this Surf, and then I'm going to throw my Psychic, and hopefully they don't shield this. It would make my life like a little bit easier, but they do end up shielding it, and then I swap into my DIGGERSBY. So now I'm going to have to eat a Surf, and I'm anticipating that the Metachan comes in. So that's exactly what's going to happen, and now we're going to see how much a Hyper Beam does to the DIGGERSBY, but we are a shield up. So this isn't like a terribly uncomfortable position to be in. They're going to farm us down, but we can just bring our own Metachan in here to do some counter damage and soak up a charge move from the Metachan. I'm going to hit the Ice Punch, and then they should be able to take me out here with their own charge move. And it's going to be a little bit unfortunate since we will have to take a couple counters, which are double super effective against our Sand Slash. But this isn't the worst position to be in if you were the Shadow version. So this is basically the quintessential reason as to why you should run the Shadow version over the regular version. And that's because 2 Ice Punches won't be able to take out a Noctowl from this range. So as you're going to see here, first Ice Punch coming through doesn't even do quite half, and of course our Shadow Claws are resisted. They do bait me there, which is a little bit unfortunate, because if I didn't shield that, I would have probably won this match. But pretty bad bait by the opponent, since they would have been able to get to 2 Shadow Balls pretty safely without having to bait. So they kind of just gave themselves a loose con, but yeah, we're able to lose that match here because we don't have the Shadow version. And final match, I believe we are met with a Zoomerelle Lead. So on the infographic, if you were paying attention at the beginning, you did see the Zoomerelle listed as a core breaker for this team, but in my opinion, the Zoomerelle isn't really a core breaker, especially if you see it on the lead. And that's because Metachan can actually kind of handle it. And as you can see, we're going to be able to get to 2 Psychics against the Zoomerelle here. And typically when you see it in a Zoomerelle Lead, it's either like double Ghosts or some sort of Steel type in the back. And in most cases in which I've played against an Zoomerelle Lead, that was the case. So now I'm going to bring in my what's this thing called here, Alolan Sandslash, and this should just be an Ice Beam, so I'm able to let that go, and I'm going to farm up a little bit extra before taking them out with an Ice Punch here. And then we'll have to see what's in the back, and it ends up being a DIGGERSBY. So this is not too bad for our Sandslash, as we are able to do super effective with the Ice Punches here. But it does look like they know the Fire Punch instead of Scorching Sand and Hyper Beam like our DIGGERSBY. So we CMP them, and it would do double super effective damage. So I'm just going to shield that, and then I'm also gonna get out of there because it takes 5 and then 4 to get to the fire punches, and they end up swapping in a Sableye, and pretty common pairing with Zoomerelle, like basically with any team it runs. Like it'll run Azu, Sableye, and then maybe another Ghost or Steel in the back. I've also seen Altaria in the back, but Altaria probably not going to be as popular this season with the Sky Attack nerf. But now we should be in a pretty comfortable position. Just farm this Sableye all the way down, and then we'll have moves for the opposing Diggersby. And yeah, we'll be able to finish this match out here. So first, Scorching Sands coming through, and then going to be able to reach the next one after shielding this up. So overall, really solid team. There are some core breakers, obviously, like the Galvanicopod. I also did run into an Araquanid, which is more or less like the same kind of issue that this team faces, and also other flying type leads could be hard to play out, especially a Pelipper lead. Noctowl isn't that bad anymore, just because you do outpace them as a Metachan to the ice punches. And also, you know, Pelipper might not be that bad either, just because typically with Pelipper in the lead, you'll see steel types in the back, like double steel. So all 3 of your Pokemon really do well against the steel types in the back. So maybe they'll be inclined to stay in if you swap in your Sandslash or something like that. So maybe if you see a Pelipper in the lead, swap in your Sandslash instead of the Diggersby as a safe swap, and just kind of pray that they do have double steel in the back and they stay in that matchup. So yeah, that's all for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, that's all for today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.